The smell of industrial bleach hit me first. Then the sound, a heavy metal door slamming shut behind me. I was 12 years old, clinging to a trash bag that held my entire life. 3 shirts. 2 pairs of jeans. A stuffed rabbit with one missing eye. Vivian stood at the intake desk of the state ward, her diamond earrings catching the fluorescent light. She didn't look at me once. Not even a glance. She looked at the social worker and delivered the performance of her life. My husband's business collapsed. We're literally on the street. We can't feed her anymore. It was a complete lie. I'd seen the fridge full of food that morning. Fresh strawberries. Expensive yogurt. I'd seen the new ballet slippers she bought for Tiffany, her real daughter. But I was the stepchild, the expense she could cut without guilt. She signed the paper with a gold pen, walked out to her silver Mercedes, and drove away. The system swallowed me whole that day. My name is Sienna. For 22 years, that memory fueled every single decision I made. I went from ward of the state to CEO of a luxury real estate empire worth $300 million. I built myself from absolutely nothing because I had to survive. Every deal I closed, every building I bought, every million I earned, it all traced back to that 12-year-old girl holding a trash bag in a government hallway. I never forgot her face when she left me there. The way she adjusted her purse strap like she was dropping off dry cleaning. Like I was a burden finally lifted. Now I'm sitting in my penthouse office on the 42nd floor, city lights spreading below me like scattered diamonds. My phone pings with a notification. It's a Google alert. An email arrived at my public business address exactly 48 hours after my Forbes cover dropped. Subject line, please help. Dad is dying. I stared at it for 10 full minutes before opening it. I didn't reply immediately. Not yet. The email was pure theater, a desperate sob story claiming they were completely destitute and couldn't afford life-saving surgery for my father, Arthur. My father. The man who married Vivian when I was 7 years old and spent the next 5 years barely noticing I existed. The man who never questioned where I went. I forwarded the email to my forensic accountant, Marcus, and hired a private investigator named Troy. The report came back in 4 hours. It was damning. Arthur was genuinely sick, early-onset dementia and heart failure, but they weren't broke. Not even close. Vivian received a massive monthly pension from his old firm. $12,000 deposited like clockwork. The money wasn't missing. It was being reallocated to maintain appearances. The investigator sent me receipts. Designer handbags. Weekly spa treatments. A custom-wrapped Range Rover for Tiffany. On the exact same day Arthur was denied a heart medication refill for insufficient funds, Vivian spent $25,000 at a luxury boutique downtown. I decided to play along with the game. I replied to her email with careful wording, I'm coming home. I'll handle the medical bills. I didn't promise cash. I promised solutions. 3 days later, I flew back to my hometown for the first time in over 2 decades, renting a plain gray sedan instead of arriving in my usual luxury vehicle. I wanted to appear humble. Sympathetic. Forgivable. I pulled up slowly to the house, the same house Vivian claimed they were losing 20 years ago. It looked absolutely terrible. The lawn was overgrown with weeds, paint peeling from the shutters in long strips, shingles missing from the roof. Garbage bags piled near the side door. It looked like poverty had moved in permanently and made itself comfortable. For just a moment, I almost believed her story about being broke. Then the garage door slowly opened with a mechanical groan. Out pulled a brand new, custom pink Range Rover with chrome accents. Tiffany sat behind the wheel wearing oversized sunglasses, phone pressed to her ear, laughing. The house was deliberately rotting so the car could shine. Vivian opened the front door before I could even knock. She must have been watching from the window. She looked older now, harder around the edges, but her eyes absolutely lit up when she saw me standing there, or rather, when she saw the potential checkbook standing on her cracked porch. She tried to hug me with outstretched arms. I went completely stiff as a board. My arms stayed at my sides. "Where is he?" I asked. My voice came out flat and cold. She pulled back, smile faltering slightly, then led me through the dim hallway to the back room. It smelled strongly of stale urine and cheap lavender air freshener meant to mask it. My father lay in a hospital bed positioned awkwardly in the middle of the living room, staring blankly at the water-stained ceiling. He looked absolutely skeletal. His cheekbones pressed hard against papery gray skin. I leaned down carefully and whispered, "Dad?" "It's Sienna." He turned his head slowly toward my voice. His eyes were foggy and distant. Then he whispered back weakly, "Vivian said you died years ago. She said you drowned in a lake." My blood turned to absolute ice. I spun around fast, rage boiling hot in my chest. "You told him I was dead?" My voice came out sharp. Vivian didn't even flinch at the accusation. She ushered me quickly into the kitchen and poured tea into chipped cups like we were old friends catching up after years apart. "He was absolutely heartbroken when we had to let you go," she said smoothly, stirring sugar. "It was much easier to tell him you were gone than to tell him we couldn't afford you anymore. It was actually a kindness, Sienna. Saved him years of guilt." She handed me a thick stack of overdue medical invoices held together with a binder clip. "If you really want to help your father, start with these bills." I glanced at the papers carefully. They looked completely legitimate, official hospital letterhead, proper stamps, doctor signatures. But something felt wrong in my gut. The dates were weird. They were all dated for future treatments and appointments. Procedures that hadn't happened yet. She wasn't asking me to pay old debts. She was literally pre-billing me for treatments she had absolutely no intention of ever scheduling for him. Tiffany returned from her shopping trip late that afternoon. She walked in through the garage entrance, tossed her keys carelessly on the marble counter, and looked directly at me with zero recognition whatsoever. "Who's the random fan?" she asked Vivian dismissively. Vivian rushed over to explain with fake enthusiasm. "This is Sienna. Your stepsister, remember? She's going to help us with the whole financial situation." Tiffany's eyes narrowed briefly, then widened in sudden realization. "Oh right. The rich one from that magazine cover? That's cool, I guess. Hey, can you move your boring rental car? You're completely blocking the driveway and I need to leave again soon." She grabbed an energy drink from the fridge and walked out toward the back patio. "No, hello. No, sorry we abandoned you in an orphanage." Just pure entitlement dripping from every single word. She carelessly left her phone unlocked on the granite counter. A text notification popped up from a contact saved as dealer. "You owe $15K by Friday or we take the car back. No exceptions." I quickly memorized the phone number before the screen went dark. Vivian insisted loudly on a celebratory dinner to welcome me home properly. She ordered expensive takeout from the most exclusive steakhouse in the entire city. Lobster tails with drawn butter. Filet mignon. Truffle-loaded fries. Chocolate lava cake. When the delivery driver finally left, Vivian looked at me with clear expectation in her eyes. "I didn't move an inch. I thought you were completely broke." I said carefully. "This is $400 worth of food." Vivian laughed nervously, waving her hand. "We have to celebrate important family reunions." Just put it on your card, sweetie. You can easily write it off as a business expense for taxes. I paid the bill silently. But I kept the itemized receipt. As I signed the credit card slip at the door, I heard Vivian whisper urgently to Tiffany in the hallway. Her voice was deliberately low but still clear enough. Just be nice to her for now. Once she signs the power of attorney papers, we can kick her out again permanently. My pen stopped moving mid-signature. I folded the receipt very carefully and slipped it into my leather purse. The next morning, I bypassed Vivian completely and deliberately. I drove straight to my father's doctor's office and demanded to speak with him immediately. I introduced myself properly as Arthur's daughter. The doctor, an older man named Dr. Patterson, hesitated uncomfortably but finally admitted the terrible truth. Mrs. Vance has actually refused the surgery 3 separate times. She insists the funds aren't available for the procedure. I pulled up the pension records on my phone and showed him the screen with the bank statements. The funds are definitely there. $12,000 deposited monthly. Where is all that money going? The doctor looked extremely uncomfortable, adjusting his glasses. She said the money was needed urgently for home maintenance and family expenses. I authorized the surgery immediately and directly with my own credit card. $50,000. The doctor paused before I left his office. Miss Vance, you should know something important. If he has this surgery successfully, he'll regain full cognitive function. He won't be confused or docile anymore. I smiled genuinely for the first time in days. That's exactly what I want. I went back to the house to sit quietly with my father. He was incredibly groggy, slurring his words badly, eyes unfocused and glassy. I checked the nightstand carefully beside his hospital bed. 3 orange prescription bottles sat there in a row. I picked one up and read the label closely. The dosage instructions said 1 pill at night for sleep only. I counted the remaining pills and checked the prescription fill date printed on the label. Half the entire bottle was gone in just 2 days. The math didn't add up. She wasn't just neglecting him medically. She was deliberately chemically restraining him so he wouldn't ask difficult questions. So he wouldn't wonder where all his pension money was actually going. I quietly pocketed the pill bottle and drove to the pharmacy. I bought identical-looking vitamin supplements in the same color and carefully swapped them out. Now we just wait patiently for him to wake up. For the thick fog to clear from his mind. For the truth to finally have a clear voice again. Vivian cornered me in the narrow hallway that afternoon. She was holding a glossy brochure for a charity gala she wanted to host in my honor. It's to raise awareness for dementia care research, she claimed sweetly with a smile. We can invite all our old friends and neighbors. Show everyone you're back and doing so well now. I knew exactly what this really was. A public pressure campaign. A way to trap me into funding her entire lifestyle in front of witnesses who would judge me. I smiled back at her. Let's absolutely do it. Invite everyone you can think of. The doctor, the lawyer, old neighbors, everyone. Her face lit up with greedy excitement. Perfect. I'll need a deposit for the caterer up front. $20,000. I kept smiling calmly. I'll pay the vendor directly myself. Her bright smile faltered just slightly. She recovered quickly with a forced laugh, but I'd seen it clearly. The brief flicker of panic. She was slowly losing control of the narrative she'd built. While Vivian and Tiffany were out shopping for expensive gala decorations, I quietly went into the dusty attic. I told myself I was looking for my old childhood things, but I found something far more valuable. My father's old office boxes, dusty and forgotten in the corner. Inside one torn box was a leather-bound ledger from the year I was abandoned. I carefully flipped through the pages. The business hadn't collapsed at all. That was actually the most profitable year in the entire company history. Revenue had tripled. Tucked inside the back cover was a letter addressed to me in my father's handwriting. The envelope was yellowed with age. I opened it carefully with shaking hands. "Sienna, I don't know why you ran away from us. Please come home. I hired people to look for you everywhere. I'm so sorry for whatever I did wrong. Love, Dad." The date was 1 week after Vivian left me at the orphanage. She'd intercepted his letters deliberately. He never knew she threw me away like garbage. It had been exactly 48 hours since I swapped the pills. I sat quietly by my father's bed, reading a book, when suddenly his hand gripped mine, hard. His eyes were completely clear. Focused. Alert. Actually present. "Sienna," he rasped with emotion. "You're real? You're actually here?" We both cried. I told him absolutely everything. The orphanage. The lie about his business failing. The lie about my death. He tried to sit up straight, shaking with rage and grief. "She told me you stole money from us and ran away," he said, voice breaking. "She said she hired expensive detectives and they found absolutely nothing. I thought you were dead or worse for years." Outside, we heard Vivian's car pulling into the driveway. My father gripped my arm tightly with surprising strength. "Don't let her know I'm awake yet. Not yet. Let her dig her own grave much deeper first." The day of the gala finally arrived. The house was filled with expensive rented furniture to hide the decay underneath everything. Crystal vases strategically covered water stains. Elegant curtains hid cracked windows. Vivian wore a stunning designer gown she definitely bought with money meant for heart medication. Tiffany bragged loudly to a group of guests about her rich sister who came back to save the whole family. I stood in the corner, watching everything carefully. My legal team waited outside in a van. My forensic accountant had just sent the final report to my phone. Everything was ready. Vivian tapped a champagne glass with a silver spoon. The room fell quiet. "Everyone, please. I want to introduce my stepdaughter, Sienna, who has so graciously returned to save our family in our darkest hour." She gestured toward me with tears in her eyes. The performance was perfect. Vivian dragged me to the microphone at the front of the room. She put on a tearful performance worthy of an award. "We struggled so much when Sienna left us all those years ago," she said, dabbing at her eyes with a tissue. "But faith and love brought her back to us." She handed me the microphone, clearly expecting a thank you speech and a giant check presentation in front of everyone. I took the microphone. The room went completely silent. "Faith didn't bring me back," I said clearly. "A lie did." I pulled a small remote from my clutch and pointed it at the projection screen behind Vivian. It had been displaying a slideshow of happy family photos. Not anymore. The screen went black, then shifted to a spreadsheet. Numbers filled the display. "This is a record of Arthur Vance's pension for the last 10 years. $1.2 million. The crowd murmured. Vivian froze. Her face went pale. I clicked the button again. "And this is a record of Tiffany Vance's credit card bills, paid directly from that pension account. $1.2 million. Receipts filled the screen. Designer bags. Spa days. The custom Range Rover." Tiffany screamed, "Turn it off. You're just jealous." I clicked again. A video began playing. It was footage from the Ring camera I'd secretly installed in the living room 3 days earlier. Vivian's voice filled the room, crystal clear. Just give him the extra pills. He's annoying me with all his questions. The room erupted. Guests gasped. Someone shouted. Vivian lunged for the microphone, but I stepped back. She's lying. She's mentally unstable. Vivian screamed desperately. Then a voice cut through the chaos like a knife. Sit down, Vivian. The crowd parted. My father walked into the room. He was weak, leaning heavily on a cane, but he was standing. He was awake. He was here. Vivian turned white as a ghost. Arthur, she stammered. You should be resting. You're not well. My father looked at her with pure disgust. I'm done resting, Vivian. I'm done being drugged. I'm done being lied to. He took the microphone from my hand. He apologized to the guests for the deception and explained what had really happened. Then he turned to Vivian. I spoke to my lawyer this morning. The house is in Sienna's name now. I signed it over. You have 1 hour to pack your things and leave. Vivian started screaming, crying, begging. She turned to me, mascara running. I raised you. I fed you. I looked at her coldly. You couldn't afford me, remember? Police officers stepped into the foyer. I hadn't just sued for the house. I'd filed charges for elder abuse, fraud, and financial exploitation. Vivian and Tiffany were escorted out in handcuffs. Not in a Mercedes. In a squad car. The guests dispersed quickly, whispering and shocked. The house fell silent. I sat on the porch with my father. He was free. He held my hand the way he should have 22 years ago. I missed you every day, he said, voice breaking. I know, Dad, I replied. I'm here now. I didn't give them a single dime. I paid for his surgery, sold the house, and moved him into a suite in my city. As for Vivian, she's currently awaiting trial. Tiffany lost the car and now works retail to pay off her debts. They wanted a savior. They got a reckoning.